Okay, so welcome to today's Delcam CRISPIN webinar. Using Delcam CRISPIN ShoeMaker Pro as an example, we're going to explain how you can use CAD to reduce the time and cost required to take your concept design to market. To help you understand this, we'll begin by giving you a brief overview of how ShoeMaker Pro fits into the Delcam CRISPIN CAD/CAM range. This will be followed by a live demonstration of ShoeMaker Pro, and finally, we'll show you how you can try the software for free and offer an opportunity to ask any questions. Okay, so to offer some context, consumers want an increasing choice and a regular supply of new designs. This means manufacturers are under pressure to frequently renew their product lines in order to remain competitive. As a result, the industry is under pressure to constantly reduce the amount of time it spends designing, developing, selecting, and getting new shoes onto the market. CAD software such as Delcam CRISPIN helps you remain competitive by minimizing the time and cost it takes you to design and manufacture shoes. It achieves this by producing a range of CAD/CAM software that is used by some of the world's leading footwear brands and provides everything you need from concept design through to product manufacture. Delcam CRISPIN provides a complete solution that covers all aspects of footwear production, including last design, shoe design, pattern making and pattern grading, pattern cutting, sole engineering, costing, and producing a technical specification, as well as an integrated product lifecycle management system. With Delcam CRISPIN, all of these packages work together, so you benefit from better efficiency and you only have one supplier to contact if you need any help or support. So how can using a CAD package such as Delcam CRISPIN help you save time and money? Well, firstly, Delcam CRISPIN Last Maker enables you to edit a 3D last on your workstation quickly and easily. You can make dynamic modifications to your last, such as changing the shape of the toe end, widening or increasing the last length. This reduces your reliability on third-party last makers, saving you time and money. Furthermore, if you want to use your last at a later date, you can quickly use the search function to easily find it in the last library quickly and easily. Once you've created your 3D last, you can import it into ShoeMaker, where you can create a 3D design. It's likely that your designers currently provide sketches produced by hand or in a 2D design package such as Adobe Illustrator. To make creating your design as quick and easy as possible, ShoeMaker allows you to easily wrap a 2D JPEG or Adobe Illustrator file directly onto the surface of the last. It will immediately convert vectors into 3D style lines so you can make necessary alterations quickly and easily. Alternatively, you can use a digitizer, touchscreen, or your mouse to draw style lines directly onto the last. We'll show you how to do some of this in the demonstration later on today. If you also design soles, you can easily import your shoe sole design from Delcam CRISPIN Sole Engineer. Now uniquely, you can design and grade the upper and the sole in the same 3D environment so you can achieve accuracy quickly. This helps reduce the time and cost that you spend in product development. Now once you've produced your style lines in ShoeMaker, you can easily add more detail by colouring the panels of your shoe with your own scanned-in textures. Advanced modelling tools within ShoeMaker Pro enable you to add even finer detail. This creates a photorealistic final sample which can significantly cut down on the time and cost associated with producing prototypes and physical samples. This is because, firstly, digital samples are far more accurate, which make design reviews more productive because they reduce designer ambiguity. Secondly, many of the competitors are allowing their sales team to use their laptops or tablets to present 3D samples to buyers. This means they can release their new designs more quickly whilst producing fewer physical samples, saving them literally millions of dollars every year and helping them become more competitive. From here, you can use Engineer Pro to semi-automatically generate 2D patterns. If you're an experienced pattern engineer, you can no doubt already produce new patterns by hand very quickly. However, by using a set of footwear-specific tools to digitize your pattern, Engineer Pro lets you edit your pattern in less time and with better precision. The result is you'll no longer need to make compromises in production, and you'll get designs to manufacture quicker. Then you can output to software to cut patterns or production parts quickly and easily. Whilst doing all of this, it's important for you to know how much each shoe will cost to manufacture. For this, you can use shoe cost. This produces costing estimates based on how your patterns will nest into synthetic fabrics or leather hides for cutting. Furthermore, you can use TechPack to generate the documentation you need about the specification and manufacturing processes for each shoe. In addition, to make managing the design and manufacturing process as efficient as possible, there's an optional product lifecycle management system integrated into ShoeMaker Pro called ShoeCloud. This enables all the information about each shoe you design to be stored in the cloud. Under full revision control with tracking information and email notifications, this makes your design process as efficient as possible. Now, all of this can be achieved without the need to continually import and export individual files, which takes time and can result in data loss. Instead, all Delcam CRISPIN software uses a single .shoe file, which contains all the information you need about every element of your shoe. Each piece of our software automatically extracts the data it needs from the .shoe file, so you don't need to worry about which file to open at each stage of the process. For example, opening the file in ShoeMaker will automatically access the 3D shoe design information required to produce a 3D model, and opening the same file in Delcam CRISPIN Engineer Pro will automatically use the 3D shoe design to generate a 2D pattern, so you only need to worry about adding the finishing touches. Furthermore, if you don't purchase all the software at the beginning, the .shoe file you create still contains all the information you need downstream should you choose to purchase the additional software from Delcam CRISPIN at a later date. Now, the software works best with other software from the Delcam CRISPIN family, but each package can be used independently and works very well with non-Delcam CRISPIN software too. You can import and export all the typical formats such as STL and IGES, as well as import and export formats such as Adobe Illustrator, Autodesk DXF and Rhino. Unlike other CAD software which produces files made up of millions of small facets, Delcam CRISPIN Engineer creates full solid models using the industry standard Parasolid kernel. This makes it easy to transfer 3D models into and out of most competitive mainstream CAD systems such as SolidWorks, Solid Edge, Siemens NX, as well as others too. Okay, in a few moments I'll hand you over to my colleague Ian Ravenscroft. He'll give you a live demonstration of ShoeMaker Pro, but before I do, I thought you'd like to see some examples of shoes designed using the software. Some of these shoes have been designed by students and freelance designers. However, the majority are designed by professional designers working for organisations that design and manufacture shoes for retail. None of the images you see are photographs. All of them are rendered in ShoeMaker or ShoeMaker Pro, and you can see just how realistic these images are. This demonstrates how it's possible to replace your physical prototypes and physical samples with rendered 3D models. This will help you get new designs to market faster, and it will reduce the costs, helping your business stay competitive. Okay, so without further ado, I'll hand you over to Ian. He's going to give you a live demonstration of some of the key features in ShoeMaker Pro. Afterwards, we'll show you how you can request more information and try out some of the features of this software for free. Over to you, Ian.
Okay, thanks Ian. So I'm going to show you a live demonstration of ShoeMaker Pro. This is the 2013 version that you can see on the screen. And let me just start by explaining the screen layout. So at the top of the screen we have the creation entities. We start on the left hand side with the last, and we work our way across the right hand side where we finish with manufacture and export. The left-hand menu will update depending upon which creation entity we're into. On the right-hand menu, I have different views, standard views, and different view controls we can use. And at the bottom of the screen, we have a library window, which will update depending upon which library I choose to use. In the center area, we've got the graphics area, and you can see I've already got the last preloaded from the library that I'm going to start the demonstration with. So the first creation entity we'll look at is Starline Creation. So when I select Starline Creation, I'm presented with a series of different options which let me create and edit Starline curves. So if I start just by using the left mouse button and creating a few Starline curves on the last, all of the curves I'm sketching are sketched straight onto the last itself, and I can do things like go square to the center line by holding down one of the buttons on the keyboard. Now what I'm deliberately doing here is only sketching curves on one half of the last. And I've done that so that I can show you that we have the ability to mirror star lines. So these three star lines, I'm now going to say, do you want to mirror them linked or unlinked? So here, if I say we want linked copies of these star lines, that means when I edit the star lines on one side, the other side will automatically update and the design stays synchronized in two halves. Okay, so we can create and we can edit starline curves. Now the next thing that I'll show you is a very frequently used piece of functionality, which is the ability to sketch with a designer's image. So what I've done here is I've imported a JPEG image which we're going to overlay onto the last. And I'm going to use this image as a template for my curve sketching. So before I can use the image, I've got to get an alignment. So I can use the drag handles on the image to align the image to the last, and I can also use the dynamic view controls to change the last orientation. When I'm happy that my alignment is good, we can exit the function, and now you can see that the last and the image move in a synchronized fashion. If we now drop back into Starline Creation mode, I can now sketch straight through the design's image onto the last to create my Starline curves. So this image could be created by a designer, it could be a pencil sketch, it could be a photograph taken through a shop window. Now if I rotate the view around, you can see that we're projecting straight through the designer's sketch onto the last to create our Starline curves. Okay, so I've undrawn the stencil now, and the design I'm going to show you is fairly complex in nature. So the other starline curves I already have created on a level, and I've just turned that level on, so you can see all of the starline curves I'm going to use for this design. I've just made an edit to the end of the curve, and also I'm going to make a mirrored copy, so in this case an unlinked mirror, to get the same shape that we sketched on the opposite side. And again, I'll zoom in and just edit the end point of the curve to make sure that everything is joined. So there you can see all of my starline curves are finished. So if we move forward to the next creation entity, which is shoe pieces. So now what I'm going to do is tell ShoeMaker that I want to start to chain together all of the starline curves to create a shoe piece. You can see every time ShoeMaker reaches a branch point, it stops and it asks us whether we want to go left, right or straight on. When we touch onto the feather edge of the last, you can see that the curves are automatically added to the last, and we can touch on those as well. And as soon as we give ShoeMaker a closed area, ShoeMaker will create the shoe piece. Now the shoe piece that's created is going to have a set of default properties. So you'll see here that the shoe piece we've created has a default outside material, it has a default inside material, and it also has a default edge material. As well as that, we have default offsets from the last and piece thicknesses. Now all of these can be changed very quickly by the user. So for instance, the material, if I opened up the materials library, we're presented with a set of materials that we can use. I can simply drag and drop these materials from the library to change the outside shape of, change the outside texture of my shoe piece. Okay, so let me redraw the starline curves in the last, and I need to create a second shoe piece. So again, we'll drop into piece creation mode, and I'm going to touch on the starline curves that I want to use. And again, as soon as we give ShoeMaker the closed region, the piece is created automatically. Now again, this design I'm creating is fairly complex in nature. So all of the other panels for this design I've already created, and they were stored on a level which was switched off and I've just turned that on. So there you can see all of the other shoe pieces that we need to complete the design. Now, a very useful feature that we have in ShoeMaker is the ability to copy properties from one entity to another. So here I can select one shoe piece, I can select which entities I would like to copy, so in this case all of the entities, and we can then copy those to another shoe piece. So here I'm copying all of the inside material, outside and edge material. I'm also copying the offset and the thickness of the selected piece to the second piece, and I can repeat that operation for any of the shoe pieces on the design. Okay, so all of my shoe pieces are created, so the next thing we have to do is to add some detail to the design. So the first element of detail we'll add is stitching. So I've opened the stitch library, and you can see we can choose from a selection of cross stitching, zigzag, single row stitching, double row stitching, and I have a number of different methods that I can use to apply stitching to this part. I can sketch stitching, I can use existing star lines for stitching, or in this case here, what I'm doing is using the edges of an existing part to create the stitching. So I interactively select the edges that I want the stitches to be applied to. ShoeMaker shows me a preview of the stitch. If I accept that preview, the stitch is created. Now again, this particular design is fairly complex in nature, so I have all of the other stitching already created on a level that I've just turned on. And I'm again using the Copy Properties tool to copy the green colour from the existing stitching to the stitching that I've just created, so that everything is colour-coded and matches correctly. Moving forward on the creation entities, the next entity I'm going to show you is the ability to create pipes. And again, I can open up the pipe library where I have a series of two-dimensional cross-sectional shapes that I can use to create my pipes. Now, to help me see the design clearly, I'm just going to undraw the panels, and I'm going to create these pipes using the existing starline curves. So I'll select these two starline curves with a circular cross-sectional shape, and you can see in this case I've used the pipe functionality to add a rounded edge to the top edge of the design. Moving forward, the next creation entity is punches. Again, we have a library of punch shapes that we can apply to the design. Now, punches are generally used for applying any decorative row of holes. So here you can see we've already applied some punch holes to the design, in this case for where the lace holes will be on the design. So I'm going to add some additional punch holes in this area of the design here. So using the left mouse button, I can simply sketch the position where I want the punch holes to be. So I'm going to have a single punch hole there, and I'm also going to have a row of punches at that position like so. Now, any of the entities we can create have edit operations associated with them. So here I can dynamically change the size of the punch hole. I could also change the orientation and the position of the punch holes. Now, at the moment, that's just geometry sat on the surface of my design. I can now instruct ShoeMaker about the level I want the punch to be applied. So are we punching all the way through to the last, or in this case, are we just punching through the single layer of material that the punch sits on, like so? And you can see there we've now got punched holes in our design. Okay, so moving forward on the creation entities, the next entity I'll show you is the ability to apply accessories to the design. Now again, I have a library of accessory shapes that I can choose from. So I have lots of different eyelets and lugs, I have buckles, zips, buttons and trims. In this case here, I'm going to apply a loop, and I'm going to apply it to the back part of the design. Now, to help me position the loop, I'm just going to blank that back panel. I'm going to select the accessory I want to apply to the design, so in this case this loop. I can interactively position the loop. I'm going to select the loop and change the orientation. So here I'm dynamically rotating the loop until I have the orientation as I want it. I could also dynamically change the size of the loop if I wanted to as well. So it's now in place. The final thing I have to do is to color code it. So again, I can use the copy properties to copy from the pipe onto the loop to color code everything accordingly. The next creation entity I'll show you is the ability to create laces. Now, when we enter lace creation mode, you can see on the left-hand side I have a menu that contains 6 different automatic lacing styles. So here I'm going to choose the crisscross lacing style. Now laces can be applied either to accessories, so eyelets, or in this case I'm going to apply them to the punch holes. So I'm now interactively selecting all of the punch holes that I want to be used for lacing. As soon as we have the punches selected, I can accept those punch holes, and ShoeMaker is now automatically creating the lacing for me using the crisscross style of lacing. Now again, same with everything else in ShoeMaker, we have a set of default parameters associated with the lacing. So a default size, a default shape, and a default material. I can of course select the laces and change any of those defaults. So if I open the materials library, one of the pages of materials I have has been created specifically for laces, and that allows me to drag and drop any of these options onto the design until we get the laces looking exactly as we want them. So automatic lace creation, a huge time saver. The final creation entity I'll show you is soles. Now I actually have a fairly complex sole already loaded into this part, which you'll see in a moment. So I'm going to show you some fairly advanced functionality of soles. We have a product called Sole Engineer, which allows you to define a sole in the detail that a mold maker would expect it to be created in. Now, we also have some very simple and easy to use sole creation wizards. So you can very easily create a default sports sole, you could easily create a formal men's sole, and you can easily create a ladies' high-heeled sole. Now what I'm going to show you here is advanced mode. So I have a sole already created. All of the creation entities can be dropped into advanced mode to perform advanced functions. So here I'm going to make some changes, some edit operations to the whole. And the first edit operation I'll perform is to add an additional panel at the back part of the sole. So in advanced mode, I have this 2D wireframe which is going to help me to make the change to the sole. So the first thing I'm going to do is to perform a limit operation, and I'm going to limit the back part of the sole to the wireframe. Now initially it looks like Sole Engineer has done nothing at all, but if I now pick the area that was inside the 2D curve, you can see that is now a separate surface. Now Sole Engineer is a hybrid modeler. That means it allows us to work with surfaces, solids and triangles. So that surface I'm now going to turn into a parasolid, and that allows me to use the solid modelling tools. And I can edit the solid. So the first edit operation I'll perform is to give this a thickness. And I'll give this just a small thickness so that it stands out from the default sole shape. Now that thickness has created sharp edges on my solid, so I'm going to remove those sharp edges by creating a small fillet radius all the way around the outside face of the solid. That removes the sharp face and gives the panel a much nicer look. And the final thing I'll do is just to colour code by using the copy attributes functionality to copy the white of the general sole onto the area that we've just created at the back. So there you can see it's very easy to make changes to soles. Now let me zoom into the front part of the sole design, because there's another change I want to make. This front panel I want to apply a texture to, and I can do this using the triangle texture wrapping wizard in Sole Engineer. So I'm going to launch the wizard, which is a step-by-step process walking me through the method of wrapping triangle texture onto an area of a model. So I've selected the surface, I've selected the triangle texture that I want to wrap onto the front of the sole. I'm going to choose the wrapping method. Sole Engineer shows me an image-based preview of the wrap texture, which I can change. So here I'm just editing the size of the texture to make sure that the texture encompasses the whole region. And then finally I can choose whether we're trimming, and I can also adjust the height of the wrapped triangles. And if we accept that, you can see the result is a really nice detailed triangle texture wrapped onto the front part of the design. Now without that wrapping method, you'd be looking at a long time to make that as a CAD model. Okay, so I'm happy with the changes I've made to the sole, so I'm going to hit the tick, which allows me to exit advanced mode, and we're now back into normal ShoeMaker Pro mode. So my design is finished, but let me just show you, if I come to the view menu on the right hand side and select the 2D view, all of the starline curves that we created have automatically been projected onto the last flattening. So without making any effort whatsoever, we've already got the 2D starline curves ready for pattern development. Okay, so this is my finished design. Let me just undraw the last, and I'll finish by just telling you some of the directions that we can go in from the finished design. This could be exported for rapid prototyping. It could be exported for photorealistic image creation or movie creation. It could also, the sole could be exported for mold manufacturing, and of course, as I showed you, the 2D starline curves can be exported to CRISPIN Engineer for pattern development. So that's the end of the live demonstration. So with that, I'll pass you back over to Ian.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you very much, Ian, for the demonstration. Okay, so what we've done here, we've imported the shoe that Ian just designed into a piece of rendering software called KeyShot, and you can really see here the level of realism that we can achieve using ShoeMaker or ShoeMaker Pro. And I think this really does demonstrate how this can replace physical samples and also reduce the number of prototypes that you produce during the design process. And that really does save you significant time and significant money and helps you get your new designs to market faster. Okay, so if you want to find out more, or if you want to try ShoeMaker Pro for yourself, there's a free version which you can download from our website. It enables you to try out all the features we've described in today's presentation, as well as the other features in ShoeMaker Pro 2. The product is called ShoeMaker E, and we'll send you full details about how to request your free software a little bit later on after the webinar. In the meantime, if you do have any questions about ShoeMaker or any of the other products from the Delcam CRISPIN range, please feel free to email me. My name's Ian. You can get me at ije@delcam.com, or alternatively visit www.delcam-crispin.com for further information. Thanks for attending today's webinar. I hope you found it informative. Thanks very much.